Hey there, and happy Large Format Friday. And we're doing something a little different. Well, not too different. We do this every quarter. Well, at least we try to. So, yeah, hey, it's Large Format Friday. We are Large Format Live. Now, I'm not in the dark room or in the studio or really anything out on location today. It's a little crazy here in Columbus this weekend because we have the Giant Arts Festival. So, the area where my dark room is crowded by like a giant sea of people, and if I tried to do something live from there, it would be kind of nuts. So hey out there, if you can hear me okay, let me know in the chat. Let's get those chats popping up, make sure everybody's still here. And yeah, I want to see all the live chat. I don't want to see the top chat. There we go. We have some people there. Hey, so if you're just joining us for the first time, my name is Matt Marrash. This is my YouTube channel where I talk about, film photography and specifically large format. It's kind of the series that 3 years ago rebooted this channel. So as part of that, every quarter we go live, and I'm here from the comfort of my home streaming setup. Well, mine and Laura's home streaming setup. So it's nice to have all the things to be able to do that. So I'm going to pay a little service to the chat here. So you know the layout and where I'm looking, this is like a multi-screen setup. I'm used to doing this whole live stream from like a single laptop. So this is awesome to be able to have multiple screens. I'm reading chats right here. I've got like news stuff on this other screen right here. And occasionally I'll look down because I've got some keys and like this other screen. So just, yeah, bear with that. Let's say hi to folks in the chat. Who do we got? We have Rocky Mountain Mike. Hey, how's it going, Mike? We have Ben. We have Evan. All right. Very cool. CM's here. Dan McGuire. Adam. All right. So we have folks from Boston, Sweden. Very cool. Awesome. Hey, Photography Online. How y'all doing today? Good seeing you. All right. Ooh, you guys are in Spain right now? All right. If you guys haven't checked it out yet, go into the chat and check out Photography Online. They cover a lot of digital, but we have a few film photography and ultra large format photography sleeper agents amongst Photography Online. So, do the whole thing. Subscribe, hit the bell, make sure you get notifications when their stuff goes up, because the production value, it's insane. It's awesome. So please check that out. All right. We have Johnny Brown. All right. Very cool. Hey, all right. So today's pretty loose kind of topic matter for Large Format Live. I did want to make sure that everybody knows about the Ilford ULF program for 2023. So I'm going to jump to a little kind of like game screen mode thing. I'm going to shift myself to the bottom right hand corner of the screen, and want to talk about the ULF campaign from Ilford for 2023. So this year is pretty similar to years past, but the good news is they're still doing it. They are still offering this. So if you're somebody that shoots really anything that isn't 4x5 or 8x10, sometimes 5x7 is readily available, but not really in a lot of different countries. So the Ilford ULF program covers a variety of film sizes that encompass like anything that's individual cut sheets or these crazy ultra large format rolls of film. And that's going on through July 7th. So it looks like the cutoff date is maybe a little earlier than years past. Maybe it's the same, but it feels earlier. But anyway, the main films that are going to be included for that are, as always, FP4 Plus, HP5 Plus, probably the most popular ULF film, and Ilford Delta 100. Delta 100 offerings have been getting a little bit more recently, which we love to see that. That's good stuff. This year, I plan on ordering probably more HP5 Plus. Realistically, when you're shooting large format, it's nice to be able to have maybe that extra like stop or so, because you're working at effectively higher F numbers than you might be with like 35 millimeter or 120. So again, this is ultra large format sheet film, funky film sizes. There's a whole video back in, I think, season 2 or 3 all about the funky film sizes with large format. I do recommend checking that out. We kind of cover the different sizes, and really this is the time of year to get that in. So if you're on the fence, I've heard a lot of chatter this year. People are like, oh, film prices are up, it's going to get so much more expensive. Yeah, and the cheapest it's going to be is right now. So by the way, I don't work for a camera store anymore, so I'm not like getting paid to say this. It's just a good idea. If you have one of these funky format cameras or you want to test one out, this is the time of year. So get those orders ready. You can always freeze this stuff. It holds for quite a long time. I think I do have some fresh 12 by 20 film, but probably going to put in for another box of HP5. Always good stuff. All right, let's see who's showing up here in the chat. It says we have a few more people. All right, we have Jason. All right, certain exposures. Hey, thanks for the comment on the 16 millimeter stuff. Definitely not ULF, but you know, we'll get there. We'll get people there. All right. Ben, all right, so that's a very cart before the horse type thing. Now, if you already have 8x10 stuff, yeah, you know, 4x10 is like, it's just a little different. But trying to buy the film to talk you into a different setup, that can be a little bit tricky and a little bit gassy, you know, the gear acquisition syndrome. So just be careful of that line of thinking. But that's coming from somebody that kind of did that himself. So take it with a grain of salt. All right, who else do we have in the chat? All right, Photography and Light, you already got 2 boxes of 8x20. Nice. Yeah, I've been seeing some more of that, you know, sneaking in that ULF content under the radar. Keep at it. Awesome stuff. All right. Hey, we got Jesse in the chat. Hey, how's it going, Jesse? All right. Did you pull the trigger on that 8x10 we talked about earlier? It's a good one. It's a good price. All right. Flying O. Cool. Hey, thanks for joining us live. By the way, if you're just joining us live, welcome to Large Format Live. This isn't like the most large format thing. Hey, but I have, you know, large format stuff up on the screen. So, well, you know, a win is a win. Oh, another reason I'm like, here, let me go to the full screen. Another reason I am here at home is because one of the resident dogs here is a bit on the mend. I don't think we can see him. You can see there's a corpse behind me right there. The headless horse. That's my greyhound Zill. She is fast asleep. And in his other little chair, oh, we can't see him, but our little man, Mr. Strudel, is very much on the mend. So he's got a donut on him. He'll be making an appearance here in the show a little bit later. But yeah, so that's also why I'm home, watching the dogs. All right, back to the Ilford ULF program. Let's see who we got here. Oh, I see we have a man of culture who has recognized this is also a Metal Gear Rising Stan account. Now, Metal Gear Rising Revengeance has to be one of Lore's most favorite games ever. So, yes, we have right in the back. You can tell this is like a gamer-ish setup, and you can see I've got my light switch, which is reflecting my Happy Pride rainbow colors that the computer is putting out. So if you see any of those, deal with it. You know, it's pretty colors. All right, back to ULF. How many of you in the chat already have your ULF order in? I'm going to probably wait until early July just to make sure those commercial jobs, the check is clearing before I place that order. It's probably only going to be 1 box because it's not cheap. But, you know, one time I heard an expression that fueled my gas even more than I thought it would. Oh, no, you know, I just realized YouTube puts that tiny little thumb of me on the thumb of me where I'm at. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift my, where is it? I'm going to shift my picture. Boop, there we go. All right, so I'm up here for now. I'll probably shift it back in a little bit. I heard a great saying, which will fuel your gas for ultra large format even more. Don't think of them as pictures. Don't think of it as a waste of money. Think of it as chances at greatness. Isn't that great? Oh, no, honey, I didn't just overbuy film. This is not film. These are chances at greatness. I love it. Total gambler mentality. All right. So if you want to, I'm actually going to drop this link here in the chat so everybody has a chance to check out the Ilford ULF campaign. I'm going to pin that to the top of the chat. And yeah, Ilford ULF campaign, FP4, 125 speed, HP5, 400 speed, and Delta 100, which is, of course, your 100 speed, your more T-grained emulsion. Really good stuff. This is the time of year to get that for those funky sheets. They do have different items like this, like what sizes, what flavors are available. Not all sizes will be available in all flavors. If you want the most options out there, this is your guy right here. HP5 is going to be the way to go. Couple FAQs about it. Basically, what you need to know, click on the available dealer list to see the international dealers that take care of that. If you're in the US, there's a lot of places, quite a few places in Canada, a really good number in the UK because Ilford is there. So check out who is taking in those orders, call up those dealers. Sometimes you might be the one to let those dealers know they are participating in that and let them know which one you're looking for. So let me give you an example. I'm going to click the old item list there. It's going to pop up a little PDF sheet of what's available, and we can see we have we have a good number of options out there and available. Can I move this? Yeah, I'm going to move this a little bit to the side so you can see my old mug isn't blocking anything. So we can see Delta 100 has a lot less of the old stuff available. FP4, good amount of sheet film options that are there, all the way from quarter plate up to the circuit film. And then HP5. HP5 is like, it's got all of the stuff. It has 70 millimeter, which is cool if you get some of those funky medium format setups. So take that 46 millimeter for those of you that are doing the old super slides, doing like the tiny medium format stuff. So lots of really, really neat options that are out there. Now, if you do see some of these here, if it's a sheet film, it's going to tell you the number of sheets that are available for it. If it is a roll film, it will also have in parentheses there the MOQ, and that's the minimum order quantity. So the whole reason this is a group buy is so you don't have to pay Ilford like, I don't know, 50,000 British pounds to make this happen. But they probably still need to make sure that there's a large enough number interested to do a special type order. So these do have MOQs. They're not as terrible as if you were going to order it yourself. So that's why this thing exists. This kind of exists for Kodak through Keith Canham at canhamcameras.com, but this is just a really good thing that Ilford does for the community to keep all of these funky sizes alive. All right, let's check out the old chat, see how chat's doing here. Lars, I'm considering buying a roll of perf 70 mil FP4, but yeah, it does get quite pricey. 35 as it's going up is also getting up there for people's budget, but 70 mil is pretty cool stuff. Let's see, what's Movie say? Last time I checked, 70 mil for Hasselblad. Yes, 70 mil Hasselblad, if you can get one of those like ready to go kits, is a cool way to go. So of course 70 mil is like the medium format motion picture film. It's slightly larger, but for putting it in your camera and just having a giant roll like they would use for NASA and other like specialty operations where they needed just a lot of shots fitting into the back, it's a good way to do it. Oh, Jesse just found the how much I'm shelling out for the 12x20 HP5. Again, chances at greatness. So 25 sheets, $800. Yeah, it's about right. Yep. Not cheap, but it's fun stuff. All right. Very, very cool. All right. So that's kind of it for the special order. It's a pretty straightforward thing. Happens every year. I've got past videos about it. Not much has changed, like detail-wise about it, but it's it's just a cool thing that. Oh, look at that. FAQs. It's a nice thing that Ilford does for the community. So hey, if you're just joining us, it's Large Format Live. I'm Matt Marrash. Welcome to the channel. Every quarter I go live, so this isn't something even though it looks like I have a streamer set up, it's not something I do every day. But just hanging out from home, playing it chill. And hey, I just saw a super chat come by. Hey, it's Chris. How's it going, man? Thanks for the 15. I appreciate it. I have to go on the job site and do some field measurements, but wanted to swing in and say howdy, and I'm looking forward to watching the whole live stream soon. Thanks for stopping in. I appreciate it, man. I do want to give Chris an especially large shout out because he was one of my first like print customers ever. Like bought a print when he heard me talking about stuff, and I didn't even like officially offer prints yet from listening to the Film Photography podcast. So Chris and I have known each other for years at this point, and just kind of like OG all-time supporters. So Chris, thank you so much. You're like part of the reason I'm like still doing this. So thanks, man. All right. Hey, we have JP in the chat. How's it going, man? All right. We've got Dan. Yes, chances at greatness. Just use that excuse. I feel like I need that on a shirt or something. Like it's not a waste of money. It's chances at greatness. All right. Hey, we've got Mr. Brian Burks in the chat. How's it going, sir? Good to see you. All right. Kyle M. Photo. Meanwhile, I've been procrastinating just ordering $60 4x5 HP5. You know, actually, this brings up another topic. I'm gonna key in another thing that is totally possible, and y'all can do it very, very easily. Filmphotographystore.com. If I can spell. If you guys have never been over to the FPP store, lots of good stuff. Great stuff even. But right now, boom, front page, there is a short date sale. Short date means it's like stuff that's like, you know, it's getting up there, but it's not terrible. His T-Max sold out immediately. You can blame my good buddy Mr. Tariq Terry on that. Some Cinestill 50D and 120 on sale. But check this out. Keeping it large format relevant. Tri-X 50 sheet box, $159.99. God, now I feel like this is like a telethon kind of thing, or like this is a home shopping network. But needless to say, I've already got my box on the way. If you go on like BH or any of the other retailers, they're up to about $180 US. Save $20. Shipping's a little bit faster. It's a great way to do it. So FPP always got your back when it comes to film. Now, I don't believe this coupon code will apply to the short date stuff, but you can always use the coupon code forever, and that will get you discounts on like the FPP branded stuff, like the Mummy and Wolfman, all those other cool large format films they have available. All right, what else we got going on in the chat? Oh, so Jesse has a very important question. Have I stopped procrastinating and started shooting instant film again, starting with the stuff he sent me? I have shot some of that high contrast stuff you sent me. It was a lot of white/gray, like burnt highlights that were gray, and then black that was like not very black because it's just expired Polaroid. They were like test shots because I was trying to use like a super, super fast lens that I was renting out from Midwest Photo for one of the increasing pile of failed video attempts. Gosh, another thing I like about doing live streams is if I mess up, it's kind of like, okay, but when I mess up doing like a polished video, it just sucks and ends up on this like scrap heap of like abandoned videos. And I can't tell you how many of those there are. It's absurd how many failed videos there are. So for like every one video you see from a YouTuber, before you like hit that thumbs down button, just think, man, how long did it take to make this thing? It was way longer than you think it was. It's crazy. All right. Oh yeah, Jesse, commenting on the sheet film 2010 is like, that's basically brand new. I totally agree. When we're talking the good stuff, like Kodak sheet films, yeah, they can be 20 years old, and it's just like shooting fresh. In fact, the freshest T-Max 100 in 8x10 that I've ever shot was from 2006. Stuff's amazing. I didn't have to change the speed to it. It was cold stored, but like amazing stuff. Like just you can shoot the good stuff, and it's expired. It's fine. All right, Adam says, I shot some TXP for a demo. My students, I really liked what I saw in the prints. This is also on top of being a Ryden Stan account. This is like, we always celebrate things that come in the big yellow box here. So even though I am talking about Ilford's ULF program as part of the programming today, like I will always shoot Kodak if given the opportunity. Kodak is like, it's GOAT tier film all the time. In fact, this brings up a good point. Another thing that I mentioned, kind of the silly portion now that we're like past the initial news and pleasantries of the live stream, let's get to the stuff that's going to make people hate each other, and probably me, in the comments. That is our tier list. So I have prepared for us, not really prepared, I found this online. It's just a little like tier list generator. I want you to help me rank these films. Now, whether it be your opinion from 35, 120 sheet film, don't really care too much about that. What I do care about is that we knock out this haphazard list. We have our tiers. We've got our S tier. That's like your GOAT tier stuff, greatest of all time. Can't get a bad photo, but just like never have poor results with it. Always on point, consistent look, that sort of thing. Get your A tier, really good utility. Don't have to think twice about using it. You have your B tier, your special occasion type stuff that's still really good, or the film that maybe let you down a couple times. Maybe you weren't sure if it was you or like, you know, the film itself. Then you have your C and your D tiers. This is like your cheapo films, your student films, your stuff that you're not like too worried about the results, or you're kind of like miffed that the results don't match how much you paid for the stuff. So you'll see all these films that are available down here. I don't know how to make these tier lists, guys. I just stole the first film photography one that I found. So to the creator of this, thank you so much for helping me generate some tier list content. All right, let's see how the chat feels about this right now. Da, 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 da. Evan says, I shot some TXP, expired in 1977, and looked pretty good, exposing at 50 to 100. Evan, it's so funny you mentioned that because, here, we'll go back to the tier list in a sec. I shot some really expired double thickness sheets of Tri-X from about the same era, and it was actually portraits during the RA4 Christmas session forever ago. But Jesse, who's in the chat, was also in one of those photos. He helped with that, and it was just wild. I think we did shoot it at something like ISO 50 or 64, but the results were pretty cool. It was neat stuff, basically fresh. All right. Yeah, Moof, I'm not sure. I must have just like grossly overexposed the stuff. That's probably exactly what I did, because the lens was a weird lens. It was one of those old Zeiss Biogon lenses, and it's hard to tell if it's just like big and hazy. Anyway, it was definitely my fault on the high contrast film. All right. Okay, so before we all start dogpiling on this tier list, there's a ton of stuff missing from here. There's no FPP films on this list. There's no Burger on this list. Honestly, I would also leave out Burger on the list because the Pancro is like, it would instantly go to D tier for me just because of my experiences with the sheet films. So there's a lot of stuff missing on the list. Let's not focus on that. Let's focus on filling some of this out. Lonely Trees. Really? Cat Labs 320 is your go-to? That's an interesting choice. I honestly want you to defend that in the chat, because I've got mixed feelings on that. JP, oh boy, Lomo Purple Matt's gonna break my heart. You know, I'm gonna leave the Lomo stuff to the chat because I've not shot enough to form like solid opinions on either of these films. But let me just start. I'm gonna like fill this up with my biases. You can yell at me in the chat, and we'll jump back to it. Okay. So I'm gonna start with something that's gonna make people mad. I'm gonna go right there. That's how I feel. Jason, Granny Days, if you're watching this, I saw your last video. That's great. It's going in the B tier. 400, A tier. Does it live up to the hype? Sometimes. Does it live up to the hype all the time? No. S tier, first S tier of the day. Bam, 160. Love it. The sheets are cheaper. Travels like a boss. It's got all the look. All right, I can see by the chats flowing in, I've already made some people super, super mad. Let's see how we're doing. Moofy, yeah, this is I'm gonna lose subscribers just because of this live stream. I guarantee it. I'm not here to make folks, well, it's nice that this is entertaining, but I'm not gonna make everybody happy with this, and that's fine. But I am gonna share some opinions, but I am gonna back them up too. Photography online, backing it up with the Burger. Okay, guys, honestly, my take with Burger is like, I've shot, what now? 2 boxes of the Burger, and one of the old stuff. Old Burger, I have no qualms with, but it was like the new Burger, like when it came out in like the extra thick 50 sheet box for 25 sheets. What is that? It had worse emulsion issues than I'd ever seen with FOMA sheet films or, other FOMA branded sheet films. And it didn't have it for me. It had a similar feel to like HP5 that was like teetering on expired. It printed amazingly. It scanned terribly. So it's more on the traditional grain side of things. And it's going to challenge you if you've not used it before. So if you're buying it to save a couple bucks, you're going to be fighting it. Anyway, So even though it's not on the list, we spent so much time ranking it. All right, I'm going to keep justifying Portra 160 for a sec here. Portra 160, for me, it's got all the juice that 400 has. I shoot a lot of like slow stuff. I shoot on a tripod a lot. I do long exposures. I do frickin' trees. And when traveling, 160 has never let me down. 400's not let me down a lot, but it's often like I don't need that for what I'm doing with it. I don't really need that extra stop. And the extra bit of sensitivity just means you get less and less x-rays before something goes, especially with these new CT scanners. I haven't flown with too many of those, like gone with too many of those yet, but any international trip, when I'm shooting color, 160, it's awesome, has not failed me. All right, now the chats are flowing. Let's see how it's going. All right, Jesse wants to fight me on Portra. Great. Evan, 800 expensive for what it is. Yep. Jackson, great call. Just push your Portra 400 to 800. We're done. Or you don't even push it. Just let it happen. It's a newer film. That's the other thing. It's just, yeah, it's got all the goods. All right, I'm going to start filling out more stuff and pissing off people and reading the chats. This is going great so far. I don't think anybody's threatened to kill me. Hell, let me check my other notifications. Nope, doesn't look like it. Okay, so we're good. Ben, FOMA's reciprocity failure is its downside, amongst other things. So yes. Jackson, 160 just has this tonal thing that 400 doesn't. Yeah, I definitely feel that. Carrie, I totally agree with you. Long exposure stuff, Portra 160, it's beautiful. All right, here's my biggest beef with this stolen tier list. Where's T-Max 400? T-Max 400 is in my like S+++. It's so freaking good. In lieu of that, I'm going to roll T-Max 100 and 400 into the same package, and I'm going to slot it right here beneath. So the order in which they scroll like side to side is also going to matter with this tier list. So T-Max 100 sliding right in there. If it was just T-Max 400, it would actually be above Portra 400 on the A tier list. I am not going to have a lot of slots for S tier. I might run off the page with B tier and C tier. I'm okay with that. I'm ready to lose friends and make enemies with this tier list. All right. How are folks doing? Edward, just don't shoot color. All right, this brings up another point, and something that I think not too many people say. The best black and white film on this list isn't a black and white film. We're just going to have a lot of hot takes today. People are just going to have the record button and the screenshots ready to go. Yeah, one of the best black and white films on this list is also in the S tier, Portra 160. I can't tell you how many times I've accidentally processed roll and sheet versions of both of the Portras as black and white. Amazing. Do they print traditionally? No, that kind of sucks. But the results comes out a little flatter, but man, it looks really good. If you haven't tried it, it's good stuff. All right, Ben wants to start a fight. Acros better than T-Max. Well, you know what, Ben? Is Acros on this list? Is Acros on this list? I haven't even looked. There's like some... Oh, there's Acros. You know what? Acros is... I actually have a lesser opinion of Acros. By the way, all of this, totally just my opinion. Please fight me in the comments. I want to just keep the discourse going on this. This is really just bait for everybody in chat. Acros lives up to the hype, not the height. It's like right here for me. And if you ask my buddy Tariq, he would probably switch it and put it like up here somewhere, but I'm going to slap Acros right there. It's good stuff. It's horrendously overpriced in sheet film sizes, in my opinion, but the sheets do have a really cool feature. If you've never used Acros sheet film before, it has actually a little hole in it for clip hanging the film up. That's cool stuff. It's pretty neat. All right, let's see how many people hate me now in the chat. Scott, wow, keeping it real today. Yeah, that's what we're doing. This is definitely not educational content. This is like we're just hanging out, and I'm making enemies. Let's see. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff missing on this tier list, by the way. If that ticks you off, I'm not going to say who made this tier list because I don't want you coming at somebody for like forgetting things. This is definitely someone that shoots a lot of roll film and not a lot of sheet film. So I will just say that there's no there's only like one infrared on this list, maybe two. Like, come on, it's not a great list, but we're still going to fill it out. Okay. I'm just going to get some motion picture film stuff out of the way because these are all like basically the same flavor. This is going to tick off some people too. Is that 500T or is that D? Gosh, I can't even like tell. Okay, I'm just going to throw them all. I'm just going to throw all the motion pictures like right here, except for, no, which ones? So 250D and 500T there. I'm going to put 500T. Honestly, I'm going to put 500T higher than Portra. I'm also going to put 200T higher than Portra. 250D, yeah, I'm going to put the daylight guys right there. This is already making people pretty mad, I'm sure. This opinion has changed since I've started shooting 16 millimeter, by the way. Rich, there's lots of things on this list that make me sad. If you don't want to be sad, yeah, make some recommendations. I'm not gonna like add icons to this. We're having fun. All right. Ben, Tariq is right. All right. Very cool. Trags are HP5, FP4 for me. Yeah, that's those are all good lists. In fact, let's go to the good stuff. We just talked about the Ilford ULF program. What are we gonna do? XP2. It's color negative. Great. If you don't have access to black and white or don't want to do black and white, it's chromogenic, baby. It's the same thing as if you're souping it's a little bit better than if you're souping Portra incorrectly. FP4. I have not had many bad experiences with FP4. I'm putting FP4 right up there. HP5. HP5 is going to scoot in. It's going to scoot in like right above there. It's A tier stuff. It's amazing. Gosh, should I just be putting T-Max? I'm just going to throw it. We're just going to move it there. We're going to run out of room very, very quickly. Pan F. I don't know. If Pan F came out in sheet film, I would probably have a higher opinion of it. I just don't shoot it all the time. It is picky stuff. I also realized it doesn't do well in Caffeinol. I did that DIY darkroom episode a few months back where I souped that in Caffeinol, which is apparently a terrible combination, and I did a really bad job, but hey, I did the video anyway. All right, what's JP say? I would agree with you with Portra 800 on the B list, but we'd both be very cool. Oh, man. Movie says, also in the Fight Me category, the best not actually black and white film that is black and white isn't Portra, it's XP2. Movie, I totally see that point, because if you're doing things the right way, the way they were intended, XP2 is optimized for that. So, yeah, good call. It's chromogenic, but it's black and white, and it's printable. So, it's very good stuff. Carrie, Ferrania P30 would be better if it came out in 120. I agree with that. I really like Ferrania. I actually have some P30 in the freezer. One of the Ferrania US reps gave me some rolls of that, as well as some of the Ferrania Orto to try out. I still don't know how I feel about that stuff. I've failed making a video about that stuff 2 different times, so stay tuned if you want to see more about that. And it is only available in 35, so like, sorry that it's not, in other stuff. Jackson with the hot take. Pan F is garbage. It doesn't take well to certain chemicals, which I had to learn the hard way. Evan, never shot Vision 3 250D, but Cinestill 400D 200 to 250 is actually fire. Okay, Evan, so I have like very, very strong harbored opinions about Cinestill films, and it's not helped by the fact that where's our 400D sheet film? It's not out yet. The last update was March 22nd. Where is it, guys? Come on. I'm waiting on those sheets. I have a project waiting for this stuff, and I want to like it, but it's not out. So you notice how high up the list 50D and 250D are right there? Yeah. Once it gets cinestilled, it's down here. Actually, I'm going to make sure the original 500. Okay, 500T is there and Cinestill's there. There we go. There's the hot take. I was waiting to drop those. So a lot of people going to be not liking that opinion, which is fine, totally fine. Anyway, so if you like 400D, try 250D. Try it. There's just something extra you get when you get that carbon backing that's on the Vision film stocks. Is it annoying? God, yes. It kind of stinks. But if you send it to an ECN2 lab that does like the whole pro process, it's a really clean film. I used to think personally that I hated 50D. That like, oh, 50D looks terrible because my only experience with it was in the 35 and 120 offered by Cinestill. Then I started shooting it in freaking 16 millimeter, like tiny, teeny sizes of grains, or not grains, sizes of frames with giant grains. And I love it. Like 50D in motion is like, it can't go higher S tier than that. But, you know, there's other stuff that's out there too. Matt Coots, that's way too high for Cinestill. I am being generous. I don't want people. Maybe I don't want to get the threats coming through. Edward, Fuji Velvia 50 in sheet film. It's good stuff, but it's very finicky. Like you have to be on your game. Like the biggest flex that Ben Horn pulls on his channel isn't just shooting Velvia. It's just being so freaking darn good at it. By the way, follow Ben Horn. His content is very chill, lo-fi. He would never try to pick a fight with you in the chat about film stocks. But speaking of Velvia, let's get the Velveeta going. Velveeta. I'm gonna put Velveeta right here while we're there. I'm actually gonna put 100 above it. I've had more successes than failures with the 100, and this is mostly talking sheet film stuff. Provia. There it is. There's my hot take on those E6 films. I like Provia more. In fact, there it is. Let's take my favorite E6 film of all time because it is how I see the world at all times. E100. And this is going to be, in my opinion, the highest rated E6 film, transparency film out there. It can be a nightmare to work with at times. You have to treat it very special. Not as special as Velvia 50, but it is the way I see the world. Like I literally close my left eye and the way my right eye sees the world, color balance and contrast, it is exactly E100. When I see E100 on a light box, I don't have to there's nothing to suspend. My world is how I see E100. Anyway, let's see how folks are doing in the chat. We've got like 60 folks. Thanks for stopping by. This is Large Format Live. I'm lambasting myself by making this film tier list. So join in. Tell me how wrong I am in the chat, where you would place things and why. You got to defend it. You can't just say that's a crap pick. All right. Jackson, you really got to dive into the tones for 50D. Absolutely. Absolutely. Brian, thank you so much for saying this. Okay, so Brian says, no photo lab knows how to edit 50D. Looks like Shrek film. Yes. Absolutely yes. If you want to get 50D to look decent, send it to a motion lab because they have optimized curves for it. They scan this stuff day in and day out. So, you know, you can send it to Atlanta Film Lab. You can send it to Kodak in New York. There's a couple places out west. There's the Negative Space over in Colorado. They do a really good job. And of course, super biased, my buddy Mike Rosso over at the FPP. He has a very good film scanning business. He does this for archival purposes. If any of you saw the David Bowie documentary that came out in 2022, Moon Age Daydream, he had the contract for scanning a lot of the archival footage. So if you liked that and liked what kind of color they were able to get out of the edit, they scanned that. So it's amazing stuff. Motion, when handled properly, is just, it's beautiful. Love it. Okay. Ben, E100 is blue. Hell yeah, it is. I have, in my right eye, the way I see the world, cooler shadows, mellow highlights, and generally a pretty tanked lower end of the curve. It's you know, it gets kind of blocked up in the shadows, but like, beautiful. Provia. Oh man, the takes that are coming out of this. I am not regretting doing the film tier list. This was the kind of bait that I wanted to put out there for everybody. Photography online, Provia 100 needs to go higher. I could, I, we'll see how this goes. I could be tempted to throw Provia into the A tier, alongside E100. And there is some recency bias with a lot of this stuff, folks. There's some that I'm not even going to put up here because I haven't shot them. Maybe y'all in the chat can help me with that. Mark, hey Mark, how's it going, man? Did you go to the arts festival? I haven't. It's a nightmare downtown right now. Mark says user influence to get HIE back. I don't know if I mentioned this. I think I mentioned it on the film photography podcast forever ago, but there was a series of threads over on APUG, the analog photography user group, which is now Photrio, regarding like why infrared doesn't go like the crazy infrared it does. And it has everything to do with what are called like the sensitization dyes, the specific dye that they put into the emulsion to give it that reactivity to infrared. And that chemical component is like overnight, it went from being, I think they said like a couple $1,000s per ounce to like tens of thousands of dollars per ounce of this stuff. And they would need like gallons of it for an emulsion run. So like because of cost alone, that stuff is like, it's not a thing. So you're not going to see any more HIE, no more FG, no more of like any of those crazy infrareds. You'll still see near infrared films, and actually stay tuned to the channel. So get subscribed if you haven't. There is some near infrared stuff that is out on the market, and it is really, really cool stuff, but it's not going to go high up on this tier list because it's not like real infrared, and it's very corner case. Like if you take away its infrared capability, it's like, it's okay film. Okay. How are we doing? People hating me now? Acros needs to go higher, produces beautiful results. That's true. Short date, it does look really good. I mean, A is still good, folks. There's no S in college, right? You can't get, so don't sweat it. A's good. That's putting, I mean, it's in like the 98th percentile right now. So don't worry about it. All right. How the chat doing? Instax needs to be on the list. In fact, let's take a segue away. I'm going to segue away from the tier list. Let's calm the level in the room down a little bit. I was doing a one-on-one workshop with someone the other day, a local guy in town that wanted to learn large format. He's like a commercial photographer, which is really, really cool. And we had our first large format session. And I thought, what better way to like learn on the fly than to have actual instant film results? I briefly thought about using my remaining sheets of Polaroid Type 55, but that can get like really, really expensive, like $15, $20 a shot expensive. So instead, we got out the Lomo Graph Lock back. I totally forgot. It's just been boxed away for almost a year, and I haven't used it. And gosh, I love this thing. So if you've never used one before, another great large format product. The Lomo Graph Lock back it's an awesome thing. It's lomography. It works in any 4x5 camera that has what's known as the universal or Graph Lock compatible back. You get this little frame, which is a little spacer to help you frame up a Fujifilm Instax wide frame, which is slightly smaller, as you can see, than 4x5, but it's not the end of the world. And then you have this chungus of a thing, this very, very large insert that goes into a 4x5. It connects via the Graph Lock adapter. I will say, if you don't have a Graph Lock compatible camera and you have something that's like a Wista or a Tachihara that has a really hefty spring, you can cram this into the spring, but just be careful. Don't break your ground glass by doing it. Okay, that's it about the Graph Lock. Let me show you what we shot with it, though. The results were kind of cool. Move this off to the side. So we did a few little portraits here. There's yours truly. First shot. I mean, could have a better model. That's not too much of my control. Second shot, really nailed the exposure here. Composition, pretty decent. And I did a little close-up. That's Mr. Ben, who was taking the one-on-one class, but pretty cool. It's also like the most inexpensive color film that you can shoot That's the other cool thing about instant. The prices of like regular film have gone up so much that instant film has actually become cheaper than shooting like, quote unquote good film or sheet film that you have to load, expose, send to a lab, or process yourself. Instant is just, it's ready. You're out the cost of the processor, but those things are less than $200, and each shot is about $1 US. So way cheaper than the alternatives that are out there. All right, how's chat holding up? Mark, where's Tri-X? Yeah, we need to get back to this tier list. All right, let's take a look. Let's see how we're doing. Matt asks, where do I rate my Instax when shooting it with the Lomo Graphlog? So I treated all of these 3 Instax at 640, and I'm really glad I did 640 because I know it's like, isn't it technically 800? But I did 640 and it came out like great. I've always treated the Polaroid color, like the new Polaroid 8x10, the formerly Impossible, at 640, and I treat Instax at 640, and it's great. The only time I think I go up to 800 is if I have like a very high contrast scene. The Instax itself has a pretty, most E6 films and especially instant films have less dynamic range, less range of like brights and darks that you can pop onto the same frame. So that's what makes those films specialty and harder to control for. And just like digital, your E6 and your instant films, once you overexpose it, you can't bring any of that back. It's not like these awesome motion picture and negative films that I'm rating so high on the tier list. It's not like those. It's like once it's gone, it's gone. And if you haven't accounted for that range, it's not going to do well at all. And with instant film, there's not really pushing and pulling. You can't affect processing too much unless like you somehow heat this stuff up before processing or very briefly after processing. It's less controllable. So you have to kind of work within those limitations to make sure it works. Okay, how's chat doing? Do you have any newcomers? Any people that left because they were so mad? Edward's saying 13 to 80% Fujifilm increase coming. Yeah, it really do feel like that sometimes, huh? It can be tough. Let's see. Oh, Jackson asks, how's the workflow on the Instax? So it's not bad. I found that it works really well on like the modern cameras, where like the Chamonix, which have a very easy clip system for removing the ground glass for that Graph-Lock adapter. I'd say if you really want to use the Instax wide Lomo Graph-Lock at its best, use it with like a calibrated rangefinder camera. So if you have like a Graflex camera or like a Chamonix Saber or like, any of those compact but have like a rangefinder that's calibrated to your lens, you can get some amazing stuff out of it. The one thing I will mention is when you insert the Lomo Graph-Lock, because, they give you this spacer for a reason. It's because that processor is so much thicker than a normal 4x5 film holder that you have to account for like every lens you have now just got this many millimeters. I don't even know how many that is. Is that like 2 and change? Or 2 centimeters and change? Everything got like a little bit longer. So your wide angle lenses are now longer and your long lenses are now quite a bit longer. So if you can get a rangefinder with like a wide-ish to medium type lens and get the rangefinder calibrated for once this is in here, you can just like shoot and shoot and shoot. And it's really, really fun to do it that way. Hey, we got a super chat from Jesse. Jesse, I'm glad we're still friends after this experiment of the tier list. So what's Jesse have to say? Supporting Ken Rockwell and his growing family. Yeah, they are going to get me after putting Fujifilm Velveta that far down the list. Look, it's in B tier. It's still solid. B's get degrees, but it's just not A tier in my opinion. All right. Oh, JP making a shout out for Cameradactyl. Always making some cool stuff. Integrated shims for some of those rangefinder system cameras. It's a great way to go. All right. Ryan. I like FPP monster films. Of course I do. I am a film photography podcast guy. but I got to be true to myself and true to where they actually sit. They're budget-friendly films that do like an okay job. They're not like the greatest things ever. Actually, we get rocking on this list. Ektar. All right, where's Ektar going to go? Ektar's going in the low Bs for me. I used to have a higher opinion about it. I'm like iffy. Sheet film stuff with it has been like very iffy. Ektar, it is like a little less tolerant to wild color balance scenarios than Portrait is, and that's due a lot to the saturation. You know, dear God, pushing Ektar looks really, really weird. Not recommended. Gold. I'm actually going to put gold. We're talking like old gold or new gold? Either way, gold is going to go like, it's going to go right here. I'm putting it just above 800T to keep ticking off the people that shoot gas stations at night, and only gas stations at night. Gas stations are fine, but shoot more than that. All right, let's see. The oofs keep coming. Photography Online, we were going to super chat you 200, but we put E100 above Provius, so now I owe them. I do owe you guys some money for advertising me for free anyway. Jackson says Ektar feels like too much effort for, yeah. It can feel like a lot of effort. It's almost like it's like a wider dynamic range slide film sometimes is how it feels. So it's like your return rate on that film is, for me personally, has never felt like anything that I've shot on like Portraits, even the 800, which I have issues with. All right, let's just get this one out of the way. Tri-X, bam, you're going right up here. Yes, it's higher than T-Max. It's every single sheet, even when like I have messed up something crazy amounts. Okay, maybe. No, that's fine. That's fine. Because T-Max 100 goes below Tri-X. T-Max 400, it obliterates this list. But 400, Tri-X at the top. I've never had a bad shot of Tri-X. I've personally messed up something on Tri-X, and I still managed to get something that was really, really clean and awesome out of it. The sheet film feels like this is all Kodak sheet films, but especially Tri-X. You could grow claws. Like you could get your nails done to like 2-3 inches long and scratch the emulsion like with intention, and it would still be fine. The anti-scratch and thickness of the base on this film, it is not overrated. It is perfectly rated where it is. S tier stuff. All right, Jesse says, saturation and contrast lover, you have Velvet and Ektar way too. Yeah. Yep. I agree with that. You know, but Jesse, maybe I can turn you on to, just maybe I can convince you to try out this stuff, 50D. Not this 50D, this 50D, like the real motion picture 50D. If you like I promise you, Jesse, if you like Ektar, just try motion 50D. With the Remjet on there, send it to an ECN2 lab. It's amazing. It's really good stuff. The saturation I've been able to pull out of that, the highlights I've been able to save out of it, it feels better than Ektar. It just does. Moofy saying Tri-X S tier, Matt secretly from the 70s. I will say, Moofy, if we're talking about darkroom printability, Tri-X is going to go down a little bit lower, because even though I've had amazing results from Tri-X, it's not what I have the most of in the freezer. It's not. I would go broke trying to afford all of my amazing Kodak emulsions that are in the S tier. But it's good stuff. It's a classic. It's very, very clean. But I have to do an inordinate amount of burning to make sure I get all of that information out of that thick sheet of Tri-X. All right, how are we feeling? People still hate me for this tier list. Let's see. Hey, Robbie, good seeing you. Is this the first time tuning into the live stream? Robbie's got some cool videos on the Intrepid camera. Ektar S tier. Gonna have to fight you on that, pal. All right, Michael says Panatomic X and EGPA 25 and 120 were fabulous, but no longer available. Using FP4 now or T-Max 100. Is this only about color film? No, there is black and white film on here, Michael, but this is somebody else's tier list. I'm just having fun with it. This is kind of a fun chat. We're doing quite a lot with nothing, so this is kind of fun. Let's see. Anybody else? Oh, Yan's wondering where I am on T-Max 400. Yan, it's at the top. It's like it's above S tier. It's S plus plus plus. So T-Max 400, our savior, it's right up here somewhere. But for some reason, it's not even on this tier list. That's why this tier list is kind of crappy, and the where I place things will be even crappier. Pro 400. Let's rip that Band-Aid off. Pro 400. This is how old I am. I'm definitely not the oldest person here in the chat, but like when I started working with film, the only 400 you could get in 120 brand new from like a camera store was 400H. Like this was pre-new Portras. So the old Portras had kind of gone away. Nobody was sure if Kodak was going to keep making film. So the only stuff that was readily available was Pro 400H. And I have fond memories of that film, but I don't have like as fond of results as those memories lead me to believe. I am going to place it higher than that, which is going to make people more mad. But Pro 400H, cool greens, weird blues, decent skin tones. Don't push the stuff. Looks good. Rich. Oh my gosh, Rich, I'm pinning your comment right there. Bam. FOMA is the ramen noodles of film. Yes, it is. Don't worry about the sodium. What, you got little specks on the amount? Don't worry about that. Let's just get you into a lot of film, get your reps, learn your way through it. It's good stuff. In fact, let's we still have some Ilfords to do. Ilford Deltas. Just gonna do that. Delta 400. I don't know where to put Delta. I don't even shoot a lot of Delta 400 because it's not like no longer in sheet film sizes. I used to think it wasn't at all, but it's probably right here. Maybe, okay. It's got to be above Pan F. Who am I kidding? It's got to be above Pan F. I'll put it here. That's better. That won't make as many people mad. Delta 100. I'm going to put that right there. I used to hate Delta 100, and it's really because I hadn't really like dialed it in until I started like doing the testing stuff on the channel. And now Delta 100 has almost entirely replaced FP4 for me, save maybe the price. Pricing kind of fluctuates between those two. And what I have like equal amounts of those stock. So that's why they're up there where they are. All right. Let's see. How are people feeling about this chat? Michael says, I love shooting 4x5 FOMA. Decent results for a very low price. If you know how to handle it, yes. Then that's the thing. If you're just learning the ropes, you're trying to get your reps in and like learn how your cameras and your developers do, FOMA can be challenging. I used to despise FOMA. Like I used to think FOMA is the absolute worst film. I can't believe that anybody makes it. Even for the price, not worth paying. That used to be my opinion. And it wasn't until I started trying out more of the FOMA and more FOMA-like things that I decided it is not F tier, whatever. But it isn't the greatest stuff on planet Earth either. I'm gonna put these in the, I don't know. There's not many things that are gonna hit like D tier. It's gonna get like a low C. They're gonna get the low C's. I would put the 400 kind of lower, but not really. Like Retro Pan isn't on here. This is such a weird list. Again, this is like somebody who had like color roll film in mind and forgot like half of the other brands. All right. Nico, Matt is drawing a hand showing the finger. Yeah, this is actually, this is not a community building exercise, doing a tier list. It's just having fun. I'm doing my live stream, chatting with y'all. I'm still alive, but I'm stuck at home babysitting the dogs. In fact, you know what? We're gonna take a break from getting mad at each other for a sec. I'm gonna grab the patient himself, Mr. Strudel. Hey, Strudel. Oh, he just woke up. All right, here, let's get him. Whoop. Move the chair. There we go. Headphones up. All right, Mr. Strudel. How are you, sir? Let's say hi to stream. Come on. Oh, I know. All right. So everybody can see Mr. Strudel's donut. He has a donut because he sustained a pretty decent sized tail injury. He's a very tired boy. I'm sorry, Strud. So he's got this this deluxe donut. If it looks like an airline pillow, it's actually nicer and comfier than an airline pillow, but he's on the mend. He loves/hates the pillow. He hates that it's on him, but he actually likes how comfortable it is. So he's, you know, being a good boy. All right. So we're going to put Mr. Strudel back to bed. He goes right there. Okay, good boy. Dogs are being so good. Okay, so that was Mr. Strudel. Hurt his tail. It's good. It's still in one piece, barely hanging on. But he's in a couple weeks he'll be back up like nothing happened. Yeah, he's he's a dachshund. If anybody here has had a dachshund, they can just attract trouble. They are so good at finding trouble, identifying it, and just like getting into all of it. All right, this tier list is taking far too long, so I'm just gonna like shoot from the hip. Extra. Yeah, I'm gonna put extra like right up here. Color Plus is actually low B tier. Ultramax up here. I've never used any of the. I haven't used a lot of the rollies, but I have used Rolly IR. It's like, it's okay. Yeah, I just don't like calling something like garbage. Like very few films are garbage. There's a few of these that are, but yeah. Let's see. Rolly Retro. I'll put Rolly Retro a little bit. I'll put it up there. See, the thing about these like infrared films, I love infrared films, but if you're like gauging them as like all around where they sit on these tiers, they're like the best they can be is like a B. They can never be like an A or an S in my mind because they just don't do everything. So I'm just thinking of like, would I be able to grab this film and like confidently throw it into the camera and know I'm going to get something good outside of a specialty situation? And now we're into like all of this specialty stuff. So that's where, this is probably where feelings are going to get hurt. Metropolis. I don't know. I don't know. It's better than 50D. The longer I go, the worse my opinion of like Cinestill 50D is getting. And it's also getting lower again because if you just tuned in, Cinestill 400D in sheet film sizes isn't out yet. So I'm a little bummed at Cinestill for not releasing that. All right. Nico says we need FP 100C on top. I miss FP 100C. I don't want to pay those prices. I think even my buddy Tariq is done paying those egregious prices for FP 100C. Fujifilm X, anything that isn't Instax is like, All right. Matt back to his roots. Yep. Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't showing my screen. I'm just like talking at you and not showing you the tier list. Thank you for the comment on that. Totally missed. All right. So this is my updated list. I'm gonna say another thing that's like, it's controversial and it feels like I'm hating on Cinestill, but like, there it is. There's Double X. Double X is down there. Okay, maybe it's there, but like, it's not gonna go much higher than that. Double X is a weird film, and Moofy, if you're still in the chat, I'd love you to chime in on Double X because Double X is like, why Double X if other black and white? that's like my opinion on it. It's a flat-tastic film. It's capable of handling like a wide range and to give you that neutral, like just kind of neutral response. But man, whew, you don't pair that thing, or if you're not ready for it, it's, you know what? Nope, that's right. All right. Jackson, you got to respect how Fuji kept production of Peel Apart longer than Polaroid. Yeah, absolutely. Kind of sucks that both of them like eventually got like equipment destroyed and stuff, which, but it's nice that there are folks that are like helping us use other products, kind of like the Lomo Graph-Lock. Like I'd never liked Instax Wide that much, but now that I don't have other Peel Apart stuff, yeah, of course I love it. It's cool. Actually, they don't even show. I have some like there's some Peel Aparts on the other side of the wall over there. My camera's not wide enough. All right. Oh, Moof, we agree? Wow. That's no way. Maybe we do agree more than we disagree. I feel like we don't agree a lot, though. Maybe we're just at each other's throats. I don't know. Moofy, it's a 50s film and it shows. It's fine in motion. Yeah, it's like, anytime I've shot on it, I would probably just like the look is so close to like these other like really crunchy traditional grain films that I'd almost rather have a crunchier traditional grain film, kind of like the FPP motion films. Those are grindy, like really grindy and grainy though. All right. Pro image. I'm gonna put pro image like probably higher than it needs to be. Nope, right there. Pro image is neat stuff. If it was in sheet film, poof, it could hit high B's. I think it's cool stuff. The Lomos, I'm not going to comment on them. You guys can help me place Lomo. I'm going to place purple up here so nobody puts me on a hit list. Lomo purple's good stuff, but again, it's specialty. So what did I just say? Like specialty, you can't like shoot everything on specialty films. Like best case, high B's. It's like I'm not going higher than that. Rich, thanks for joining the stream. Yeah, we're just having fun talking film tiers. I should probably talk about like other projects I've got going on right now too, because lately on the channel there's been some like weird stuff showing up. There's like it's not all large format all the time, and it's because like I'm like almost out of season for large format. I'm not shooting as much of it as I have been like other stuff, and there's no sense in hiding it. That's just like that's what I'm doing a lot of right now is not large format. I've been shooting a lot more of the I've been shooting a lot more of the medium format stuff. I've been shooting 16 millimeter. I just dropped that video a couple weeks back on the channel, and I don't hate it. It's just nice to be working in film but doing something like slightly different. I do want to share with you some results. I'm probably gonna do a dedicated video about it, but just want to do a little fun preview. I've been shooting a little bit of this stuff, the FPP X-ray film. This is like actual like X-ray film that they would use for like commercial or medical purposes. It is a very weird orthochromatic film. So I have an old video from season 1 of LFF about working with X-ray film. It's neat stuff. It is film that has less sensitivity than you would probably want for most situations. It's anywhere between like a 100 and 200-ish speed film. It's orthochromatic, meaning it doesn't see all the different colors. Once you get into like your deep yellows, oranges, and reds, things start to go darker than your eye would make them appear. And this film doesn't have anti-halation backing. You just have to rely on the paper backing, and that means you get this lovely glow or halation. And if you watch like your Instagram reels recently, or a lot of modern shows by modern like new streaming networks, like halation and color saturation and that 80s 90s color pop plus glow is like the thing right now. So if you want to tap into that with an even more interesting look, this is pretty cool stuff. Let me share some results that I've gotten with it. Oh, Louis, yeah, I love the graphic that's on here. These are done by FPP's Paige Davis. She did like an amazing job with the logo. Kind of has the vibe of like the, you send in for the, You send in for like the X-ray glasses kind of stuff. And that was the result it got. Where is sorry, I'm trying to open my stills for today's video. I had them pulled up and now they're gone. So see how organized I am here. All right, here we go. So I do want to share some more stuff on the old screen. And I'm going to bring my screen back up this way because I realize it isn't doing the thing I need it to with the icon. So FPP X-ray has some cool results. Oh, I had some, what am I doing? I already had some like queued up that looked pretty cool. It's a great little portrait that I did with the Hasselblad. So medium format, Hasselblad 500C, really, really old version. This is the FPP X-ray film. I grossly overexposed it. So this is a film that does not have like a lot of dynamic range to it. It probably has like 4 or 5 stops, but it's not regular black and white film. You cannot overexpose it because of the glow and the halation, and density forms on the film very, very quickly and like rapidly. So this is probably like, I don't know, it's probably like 2 stops over what it needs to be. And the grain just gets kind of chunky, but the glow that you get out of it is really, really, really genuine, which kind of a cool thing. When you're in more like subdued lighting, this was like indirect, this is like shadow, but on like a super contrasty, bright sunny day. Here's what I did of my buddy Jeremiah on a photo walk. It was a little bit more overcast, like later in the day, so the sun isn't as extreme, but we still get this crazy glow. Whoops, I'm gonna move myself. Whoops. I can move Jeremiah. I'm going to move myself. There we go. Move myself down. Maybe I'll hang out down here in the corner. But you can see like a lot more of the halation and glow going on. It's a cool portrait film. Your highlights are just going to bloom. They're just going to glow. It's what happens with this type of film. And yeah, it's another portrait I got here. Another kind of neat thing. This is Alex. She's a great model. This was at a like a walking workshop, little meetup called the Film Cipher here in Columbus, Ohio. They meet up once a month, and we get a lot of people coming in. Dave, the old camera guy on YouTube, he was even there the past couple months. Pretty cool. Anyway, Alex has this really, really deep red hair, and you wouldn't know it from this shot because it almost looks black. It almost looks like she's wearing a wig, and it's just how orthofilm renders the hair. Now, the keen-eyed of you will realize that this Hasselblad has a light leak, and it does. But check out the light leak. It's kind of neat because there's this it looks like added grain, but I can only chalk it up to like the light leak is halating on both sides of the film. It's doing this really cool thing, like it's adding these particles to it. This is just, it's like a raw, like pretty raw scan. Doesn't have too much except like a little contrast onto it. It's got a neat look to it. But the FPP X-ray film is on the go portrait of my buddy Stephen Takis. We were hanging out in Portsmouth. You can get emulsion specs and issues. Like it happens. But it's a cool film with like this really, really neat glow to it. Get another portrait coming in here. This is model Taylor. So darker complexions, so like your deeper oranges and reds and skin tone go quite a bit darker. So you want to be, cautious, making sure you're giving enough exposure, not leaving shadows completely empty. But it's a cool film. Like look at the glow on the whites on her sweater and even like the bokeh in the background. It's a neat look. Is it a look for everybody? No, absolutely not. But I think it's a great portrait film, and it's like $10 a roll. So it looks pretty cool. All right, I'm going to answer some questions. I'm going to leave this photo of Taylor up because she's prettier than I am. So what do we got here? Nathan just joined the chat. Ektar's B tier. I'm offended. That's fine. Please be mad at me about the tier list. I am not going to show that tier list anymore. It was a fun exercise while it lasted. Photography Online, XX can be great at ISO 800. I believe you. Honestly, when you have a film that has that flat a response, pushing can be a great way to do it, which is underexposing and then potentially overdeveloping. All right, Jackson, that's not a hot take at all. Halation is superior in black and white. Halation in black and white just feels right because black and white has that, like, it has a way of taking someone into something that feels more like the past. So no, I totally agree with that. Not hot at all. Elliot asks, how easily does X-ray film scratch? Pretty easily. I was very surprised. So I didn't treat this film any differently. Like normally, if you've watched any of my videos here on the channel about working with X-ray film on Large Format Friday, I usually mention that like the large format sheet film X-ray scratches very, very easily. This film didn't really have a lot of scratches. In fact, let me look through. There's dust. God, there's a good amount of dust on here. But even though I loaded this onto plastic reels, I don't have any like crazy scratches. Let me just comb through them a little bit. Yep, that's a hair. So I did have some of this emulsion. I had like little pits showing up in there, but nothing. Let's hunt for scratches. I got some light leaks. This is actually a good example of what happens when you still grossly overexpose. So here, like her sweater's pretty well retained, but like in this one, can you see like her sweater is like, it's almost like going like a darker silvery color. That's actually what happens to X-ray film in the highlights. It starts to block up so much that it starts to like look like really, really pushed grain. And it's just because you can't scan through it, and you're going to have like an impossible time trying to print through it. So that's just like an incredibly blown out and halated chunk of grain. Oh yeah, this is what happens when you go 4 stops over. I accidentally didn't set my shutter speed where it needed to be. Once you're at 4 stops, so we thought the sweater was bad here. Nope, it gets way worse. So these are little sight hounds, little whippets. And yeah, you just cannot blow this film out. All of this stuff that you're seeing, these lines, those are from the scanner. It's just trying to push as much light through to see what detail is there in the dogs. And by the time you try to claw that detail back, you just get this whole blocked up thing. This piece of film looks black. Like even up to a light box, you can barely make out any shapes. You can make out the shapes of like the trees and their walker, like the person in their like biker shorts, but that's it. You really can't see any of this. So I'm amazed the scanner could pull anything out. But for like normally exposed scenes, we can see the sky is doing that block up thing. Nothing really crazy. Well exposed stuff in the sun is fine. Hey, there's There's old camera guy. There's Dave. Dave just chilling out right there. That's Jamie, like looking at me like, hey, what are you doing, man? Some other guys from Midwest Photo. So we have fun on these meetups. It's a classic photo meetout situation, which looks pretty cool. It's another good shot. This is like another good positive case for the glow. All right, how we doing? How's the chat doing? Oh, Dan asking, we'll never get the answer of HP5 versus Tri-X. Not even a question. Tri-X. Like 10 out of 10 times Tri-X. Now, I have more HP5 in my fridge, but that's because I can afford more HP5. All right. Peter, hey, thanks for stopping by. We're just having fun. I'm showing medium format stuff. I'm showing some results with the FPP X-ray film. But yeah, highlights, when they're in that range, they have a nice glow to them. The really blown out stuff, it can get kind of chunky grained. I think this is at its best in like a studio situation. Natural light with high contrast, this film can get tough. But look at what happens in overcast light. Look at the difference here. See, it's got maybe a little too much glow, a little too much personality. But now once we get into like a more even overcast area where your dynamic range is like that 3-4 stops, this film is beautiful. Back to crunchy because we're in direct light. This is end of the day light, guys, and it's still just like super, super punchy and glowy. Yeah, there's no scratches to be found on this film. I was very surprised about that. Shot 2 rolls. I blew out a lot of it. Like I grossly overexposed it from where I thought it needed to be, but it turned out great. So I'm a huge fan of this film as a specialty film. It's like a special treat. It's not something you're going to shoot all the time, but if you're into portraits and you want to do some softer looking stuff, this can be a pretty neat film. Again, it is ortho, so be careful about that when you're exposing for folks with darker complexion and more subject matter that, you know, occupies the oranges and reds. You're going to get lower values than you think you're going to get. Jackson wondering if I can compare them as they cost the same. Doesn't matter. Same answer. Tri-X. Even if Tri-X was more, even if Tri-X costs, it doesn't matter. Yeah, even regardless of cost. If tomorrow HP5 costs as much as Tri-X, I'd be filling my freezer with Tri-X. So that's kind of it. All right. Does anybody have any questions about things that don't tick them off? Mainly the film tier list. Actually, I do want to show a couple other photos now that I'm talking medium format. Where are those other things? Yeah, I am definitely never showing the tier list again. This was a fun experiment. Don't know that I'm going to do it again. Open file location. Just as an example, you know, just for posterity's sake, when people wonder what kind of light that I had that day when I was working with the FPP X-ray film, here's some T-Max I took the same day, and like, it's night and day. So the same kind of overcast light, and it's just, come on, that's T-Max. This is why T-Max is the S most tier of films. It looks great. What crazy highlights? Doesn't matter. The detail, it's all there. Looks great. This is down in Portsmouth, Ohio, Southern Ohio Museum. Great detail. There's my parents being goobers on their phones. Like, great detail. Found a barbershop while I was down there. Those ones are a little blurry. Handheld, mirror lockup, indoors, 400 speed film, no problem. This is probably exposed closer to if it was like 800. T-Max doesn't care. It's a great, great film. So, yeah, that's why it's the GOAT. Let's see. Elliot, so much of my film bag is specialty films, mostly expired slide film. Expired slide it's a flavor. It's a variety. It's got, you really have to like it and be into it. You know, you're working with already limitations because it's slide film, and now you're compressing those even more. You know what? I had like a whole agenda. How much of that agenda stuff did I talked about like plenty. There is one thing though that I did want to mention last about things that are happening pretty soon. I didn't like do any sort of like crazy dedicated video. about it, but I have an event that's coming up here pretty soon, and it's worth mentioning. So I'm here on my website. This is Marrash.com. I'm actually going to Marrash.com/events. If you are local to, I have to be https://Marrash.com/events. If you are in the Columbus, Ohio area, I have a really cool thing that's coming up, and this is later in September, but I have been awarded a decent sized little grant from the Greater Columbus Arts Council here in Columbus to throw kind of a neighborhood party. And what I'm doing is doing a cyanotype day. So what that's going to be is it's going to be like a day-long event, 12 to 5. I'm hosting it here in the Hilltop neighborhoods. These are neighborhood-specific grants. So it's going to be free for attendees that live in the Hilltop neighborhood of Columbus. But if you are in Columbus, I'm going to try to work out details with admission and stuff for having anybody else join. But it's going to be fun. We're making cyanotypes, so we're going to be making blueprints. We're going to have digital negatives. We're going to have things for photograms like leaves and previously made like kind of rough negatives. And we're also going to have some coated tapestry material just as a way to perform some public art. So it's going to be the lo-fi chill beats version of alternative process photography. And the best part, you don't need a darkroom for this. This is going to be hosted completely outside. We're going to have some garden hoses. We're going to have t-shirts, paper, and just otherwise have fun. So all of the information on this is at Marrash.com/events. Should be a fun time. I'm looking forward to doing it and really just showing folks that don't have any conception of this older type of photography what's up, what you can do with it, things you can make with your hands and do yourself with very, very little materials. So it's going to be a fun little event. All right, I just saw a super chat come in. So this is from Adam. I want to give your channel. I want to give a little, as your channel was invaluable for me when starting large format. What do you think are the best practices for shooting triacs? Excellent question. That's so awesome that you were able to get value out of the stuff that's here on the channel. That's why I do all this stuff. Triacs all depends on your developer, but realistically, the Tri-X Pan or TXP sheet film is technically a 320 speed film. Shoot at 320, you're going to have a great time. If you're using something that's got like a little bit of that compensating action of a developer, like a pyro staining developer or a like a Rodinal or something, you may want to shoot it a tiny bit slower. I shoot it at 200, but I have also shot it at 400. It does great. Do you want to push it? Great. Throw it through a developer that's a little bit more suitable for pushing, maybe something like your Xtol. And if it's expired, don't even worry about it until it's like 20 years old or has been in a swamp. It's just amazing film. So again, when I started, I had a few boxes of Tri-X. T-Max was the one I learned on, but then I started getting into Tri-X. And every negative that I print from Tri-X, there's something special on there. I love it. Again, the highlights can be really tough to work with, but it looks really, really good. So if you're going to overexpose Tri-X, you definitely want to not develop it as normal. You may want to pull develop it if you really aggressively overexpose it, but it's good stuff. All right. How is chat feeling about the event? Dan says, agree with Moofy. Have a freezer full of expired film, including some Velvia from 2002. Still looks amazing when I shoot it. Yeah, slower speed film generally, whoops, crossing my wires. Hopefully the mic isn't popping or anything. Generally, lower speed films are going to age so much better than higher speed films. So another reason that I kind of enjoy the slower stuff, like your Eastman 50D and your Portra 160 and stuff, is it's not going to show that age as soon. And then your Ektachrome, E100, it gets a little iffy after maybe 20 or so years, but still good. But if you get into the slower stuff, like your Ektachrome 64 tungsten, those are awesome films that last a long time. And you can just shoot them the way they were and they look awesome. I'm going to have more stuff about slower film here on the channel, both pertaining to large format as well as motion, as well as smaller format stuff, because I'm on a kick with the slower stuff lately. It looks really, really great. It doesn't get the attention because why when you can just push 400 and 800, but like the slower film has something special to it. All right. We're almost like caught up on the chat. That's amazing. I'll calm down once the tier list left the chat. I get it. So yeah, this is a fun little event that I have coming up. I'm going to be posting updates here on the channel about that as we get closer to the date, because we're still a few months out. It's definitely going to be something that is cool to attend if you're regional, but you know, if you're in a different country, it's not worth like making the journey or whatever. But it's going to be a cool opportunity. We're going to have lots of volunteers there. It's going to be a large-size public event. So we're expecting anywhere between 100 and 150 people throughout the day. So like just a big public art workshop. You can think of it like that. And more information. And by the way, if you haven't seen the personal site, you can go to marrash.com. I put this link in every one of the videos. If you go to this events page, I fill this out as things like meetups happen. So if there are local meetups or any like workshops or events that I'm going to, I will put it in the events tab so everybody has access to it. You know where I'm going to be. If you want to, stop by, bring your large format, any of that stuff, I'll have those in the events section of the website. Let's see. Elliot has another question. Where is it? X-Pro Fuji Chromes can look pretty funky. Got a roll of Provia 1600. Wow. Provia 1600. I've never worked with Provia 1600, actually. I would recommend if it's like really expired, treating it gently. Expired slide film doesn't have like the same rules as as like those rules that you see for like negative films where they just tell you to like grossly overexpose it. Slide film doesn't really play that way. Slide film, you kind of just have to like shoot it what it's rated for, and then you're going to have to like deal with the consequences, deal with the base fog. If you try too hard to overcome that base fog that's on the film, what can happen is you're just going to get like a see-through sheet of E6 or a see-through roll. So you don't really want to like crazy overexpose that stuff. The craziest I've ever done with like old Ektachrome was I shot some, what was it? I think it was Ektachrome. No, it wasn't Ektachrome 64. It was this E-dupe film, which was electronic duplicating sheet film. And it was made for like machines that used a xenon arc tube to duplicate different films. And that was, I want to say it was like 100, and I shot it at like 64 because it was almost 30 years expired. And that was like close, but then the color balance was wild. That's another thing. As you start overexposing, like things just get weird. Those color dyes aren't going to be, close to what you would expect when you just like Google search, what does this film look like fresh? Like your results will very much vary. All right. JP saying, Matt, come visit the Bay Area. I need to get out there. There were plans to do a trip to the coast later this year. Those have kind of been scrapped due to some other things, mainly this kind of stuff, focusing a little bit more local this year. Maybe I'll still make it out in the fall, but it's not looking great for travels, but that's okay. I still have plenty of stuff to catch up on here on the channel. Speaking of which, we've been going at this about an hour and a half. I guess I'll throw the tier list up one more time just for the lulls. So did I close it completely? Oh, I did close it completely. That's fine. So the tier list is no more. We're never going to see it again in the in its cursed form with all of my questionable choices for that. But yeah, that was kind of it today. We're hanging out, connecting with the fan base. So many of you have tuned in the whole time, so thank you so much. Again, this is Large Format Live. We did a little bit of talking about large format. We talked about the Ilford ULF program, so get in for that. You have until July 7th, so about a month to get those in. Check out the dealer sheet, and I'll have the link to that in the show notes of this as well, but it's also near the top of the chat. So contact your Ilford dealers about that. If you follow Cinestill on social media, bug them, ask them when the 4x5 400D is coming out so I can put that higher up on the tier list. Can't wait for that stuff. And yeah, look forward to more film content, but not necessarily as much on the large format side of things. I'll still be shooting large format, but man, I am just running through so much non-LF, and it's fun. It's changing things up, keeping it fresh. And yeah, everybody have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.